I brought stacks. When I was hoarding fucking materials and supplies, I bought like a shit ton of cookies because I felt like eating cookies. I felt like a takodachi for a second there, and I brought water. Chat, I've been addicted to like Coke Zero as of late. You know you're in the Philippines when you can hear the electric fan. Yeah, I don't have money to buy like another air conditioner yet. So I'm not gonna buy an air conditioner just yet. Coke Zero? Yeah, Coke Zero or Coke Light. Apparently it's generally not good for you. But like at the same time, I love it. I think I'm addicted. Coke Zero apparently has something that can make you addicted to it or something. I have no idea.
What happens when parasocialism goes both ways? We always talk about the lonely viewer sitting in the dark, obsessed with their favorite VTuber. But what if the streamer is just as desperate and broken, manipulating the people who worship her while depending on them to keep herself sane? This is Elfin Psyop, a small indie VTuber viewers often described as having a femcel/Tomoko Kuroki-esque aesthetic. If you've
From Watamote.
never heard of Tomoko, she's the protagonist of Watamote,
Yes.
an anime about socially inept, lonely girl who craves attention and affection but has no idea how to interact with people normally. That's
Yes.
the vibe Elfin radiated on stream. Awkward, doom posting, perpetually online, going for that whole mentally ill vibe, except I'm
love
not
that.
entirely sure it was just a vibe with her. She wasn't a corporate idol with thousands of fans, but her small community was fiercely loyal. Drawn to her raw vulnerability, her throne wish list, basically Amazon for streamers, was always filled with gifts from supporters.
Okay.
She never branded herself as a GFE streamer, but she definitely
Fuck, I wish I was a woman. Dude, chat, all I'm gonna say, if I was a woman, the billionth time Nousagi said she wished to be a woman. All I'm saying is that if I was a woman, I would be Elf's direct competitor. I would.
reaped some of those perks: daily emotional support, constant validation, and fans treating her like their personal comfort streamer. In most parasocial relationships, fans project onto a creator who remains distant. But here, the parasocialism went both ways, creating a twisted web of intimacy, betrayal, and scandal that ended with a 51-page expose, a deleted Discord server, and an apology stream that started with a song about CIA mind control?
Yes.
This is the story of Elfin Psyop, the femcel VTuber whose desperation for connection turned parasocial bonds into mutual chaos. Elfin's content wasn't polished idol karaoke or corporate tier ASMR. She streamed scuff games, doom-posted memes, trauma-dumped, and sang unironically. Fans described her as a doomer VTuber, a chronically online neat with an edgy, unhinged vibe.
Yes.
She even got banned on Twitch once for what she claimed was no
By the way, 51 pages is not that long. I go through that in like in fucking 1 hour.
reason.
It's really not that long.
Though it turned out she flashed her TOS breaking model on stream as a joke, then promptly had a crash out about it. In her own words, she had no friends in life, worked 2 jobs to survive, and used streaming as an emotional outlet. Her viewers weren't just fans, to her, they were friends. And that detail is critical to understanding the scandal that
So like 50 other indies. Gotcha.
followed. On April 18th, dropped a document that
Oh,
exposed
hi!
her. It was
I read this. Yeah, I read this a little bit. So this was the document that I read, and all I have to say is that you motherfuckers got played like a fiddle. I do not feel sorry for you. I genuinely do not. It's like the fucking the emotional wreck, fucking like attention-seeking VTuber that's here in the internet for those reasons is gonna want a harem of males to feed her attention? Duh! Yeah.
51 pages long, written by a longtime supporter and close friend known as Average Bird Enjoyer, someone who helped her with server moderation and back-end things at time. And I suppose scorned lover now? Question mark?
Okay.
The doc opens by stating, I did not anticipate needing to put together this document. The true nature of the situation made that seem impossible.
I'm sorry, no. You got cheated on the internet, dude. It's not You guys know my stance on cheating. I don't think it's a real relationship, but you got played like a fiddle. I am so sorry. You got groomed by an indie. You got groomed by an indie. You're supposed to be the groomer for the indie, not to be groomed by one. What is wrong with you?
The author writes that Elfin Psyop's public statement effectively amounted to slander. Initially, they sought to provide evidence on how Elfin manipulated her fans and people around her for her own sexual gratification, then accused them of manipulating her to avoid consequences. He states the intent was originally private but felt forced into public release since he basically wants to defend himself from her accusation, calling him a groomer. 6 confirmed men are listed in the document. Average Bird Enjoyer, who was a Discord mod, Merrick, a former Discord admin, Shovel Breath, another former Discord admin.
Imagine I fucking see one of you guys here.
Launchland, regular Discord member, and Captcha, a regular Discord member, and Sako, a former Discord admin. Bird goes on to write,
imagine I fucking see Pandora Pan in this or something.
She dropped these men after she was done with them and then accused them of taking advantage of her to avoid admitting she was in a consensual sexual relationship so as not to sabotage her streaming career. For Bird, the author of the document, it all started simply. At first, he was just another name in chat, someone who cheered her on, sent her kind messages.
Yeah, fucking Senor Tortillas is here too. Imagine.
One day after its creation. Their interactions were friendly and casual, like many other streamers with their dedicated viewers. Bird first discovered her on March 15, 2024. Their initial interaction were relatively wholesome, with Elfin appreciating his supportive marshmallow messages. After he sent her this marshmallow, they started DMing, and then he starts noticing a pattern where she is
Will I be a good girl if I did that?
inebriated quite often and would message him
I love you, fucking zero. Oh my fucking god, let's go. He got groomed. He got groomed.
As quickly as their friendship formed, the dynamic shifted. One night, while she was drinking during a voice call, a boundary was crossed that could never be taken back. During a call,
she's unironically pulling the uwu language on her, bro.
Was drunk,
on
Bird
him.
Told her she was a good girl and that he loved her. Something
she was a good girl? Yeah?
And then the unthinkable happened.
Okay.
At some point during April 3rd to 6th, Elfin was drunk in a call, sending me explicit images of herself, completely unprompted. I asked her
closest to one nudes. Okay, it's not even nudes. It's just like a tummy of her pictures or in bikini or something. So she's grooming him.
If she wanted me to delete them, she said yes, and I deleted them after saving them in case I ever needed proof.
Of course. Yeah, okay, buddy. Yeah, you definitely saved it in case you needed proof. Yeah, sure. Oh my fucking god. Look, dude. I'm only fucking 4 or 5 minutes in. I'm already in Psyop in Elf side. I'm already thinking, yeah, man, yeah, that's right. Farm those fucking simps, baby. Let's go.
Which is honestly a little weird that your first reaction is to start gathering evidence when you meet somebody, but I digress. The next day, she would claim she didn't remember anything when she sobered up, which the author of the dog believes is something Elfin would often try to do. In one instant, a wholesome streamer-viewer connection morphed into something sexual, and it wasn't just words either. At one point, she messaged, honestly, some stuff it's not even worth sharing because most of it would be censored, and we've gone way above the censoring budget for this video already. But just to give you an idea, this drunken message, for example, translates to Elfin telling me if I touch her she'd come real fast.
Elfin, my guy, you don't do this to a normal supporter, okay? You do this to a whale, okay? You do this to a whale. That way, he would have sunk in a lot of money into you. The sunk cost fallacy is gonna take into effect, where it's like, you know, I already sunk so much money into you, I might as well go all the way. I'm not gonna read all of that, chat. What the fuck?
But, you know, just the usual Discord kitten, call me good girl stuff. At one point, he even claims she sent him a selfie of her face, which he also claims he deleted out of principle. The author goes on to say that at this point, the relationship got much closer.
Elfin masturbated in call to my voice. That's dead. He's
voice in call. He claims he did not participate and she was likely drunk, but he writes that they called on a regular basis.
Sure, buddy.
He also says at one point in April 2024, they started discussing the idea of meeting in person, which might have been the reason why she had deleted their DMs from April 9th to May 7th.
Okay.
In the period of May to June, he took a trip to the UK to meet up with some old friends and then tries to get her to meet so he can give her his gifts. But she tiptoes back and forth, saying she's scared of meeting people online, but then go into, I wouldn't mind meeting, but if I'm sober, I'll be a nervous wreck. And then she would eventually give a soft okay. However, she would end up backing out of that meeting, which is something the author claims he doesn't hold against her. However, something else happened during this trip. While he was traveling, Bird received a DM from another viewer who wanted to talk about Elfin and another fan, Merrick,
cheating!
who was also a former Discord admin.
Cheating!
Explained that Elfin often spent time in voice calls with Merrick and that things between them got pretty intimate. Apparently, she a few times to his positive affirmations, and he would send her audio recordings of—
God, imagine jacking oh crap, chat. Okay, chat, imagine jorking it to like fucking, oh, I think you're special. No, you're loved. I love you. You're special. You have a place in the world. Your feelings are valid. Take a rest. Imagine jorking it to that. Wouldn't that be so funny?
Himself for comfort. But eventually, they had a falling out. The person messaging Bird warned him that Merrick might try to defame both Elfin and Bird out of spite. They also mentioned that Elfin had deleted all her DMs with Merrick because she was scared of getting hacked, meaning that there was no direct evidence of what happened, only this person's account. He ended up talking directly to Merrick. That's when Bird discovered that Elfin had while in call with Merrick, apparently while drunk. During their conversation, Bird and Merrick shared the private DMs she had sent each of them. When Bird confronted Elfin about it, she didn't react with remorse or embarrassment. Instead, she got angry that they were even discussing it behind her back. At the time, Bird writes, I found her reaction a bit odd because she seemed more upset at me for discussing her private affairs than with the people leaking this information. But as you will see later, the deflection of blame as well as
so Elf got mad for the wrong reasons.
At victimizing herself will be consistently present. She would then go on to write this apology explaining her side of the story. She described how her late night calls with Merrick started casually, both of them drinking together, but said that he drank far more than she did. She admitted that she often got, quote, absolutely hammered, end quote, and wouldn't remember anything the next morning. She told him she hated that feeling. She deleted everything between them and cut him off completely.
So it's basically the goddamn equivalent of like getting shit-faced, going to bars every night, getting shit-faced, fucking a random stranger, regretting it on the morning, leaving, only to do it again. Okay, I'm glad we're being consistent.
She didn't want it to go anywhere because she didn't like it. And he agreed. But then, as she describes it, he told someone else about what happened, despite her asking him not to. She says, I'm pissed at everyone. I know I have issues. I know I'm an alcoholic, which is exactly why I cut everyone off. I want people getting uncomfy of me using my drunken state to their advantage. She claimed she now drinks alone and logs out of Discord to avoid this situation, saying, I try my best. I really am trying. I'm sorry to have caused any pain. I didn't mean it. These are my personal issues and I'm trying to get better. After Elfin shared how Merrick encouraged her drinking and made her feel used, Bird responded calmly, saying he wasn't trying to take advantage of her and valued their friendship. He admitted he had feelings for her, but told her their genuine conversation meant more than anything romantic. Looking back, he noted things were awkward after this, but they stayed friends, though never as close, and she didn't directly reject him at the time, despite later claiming she did so. After learning about what happened between Elfin and Merrick, Average Bird Enjoyer starts to spiral. He began making more self-deprecating and suicidal jokes than usual, clearly affected by the situation. So in July, he decides to have a friend named Otaku act as a go between him and Elfin to try to figure out how he stands towards her. Does she like him? Are they in a relationship? So, Otaku talks to
Stop
Elfin
stalking
to
your
try
ex.
to get clarifications on Bird's behalf on whether or not she likes him or if she'd be interested in a platonic relationship with him. But Elfin sounds frustrated and keeps repeating that she's already given him a clear answer, all the while refusing to explain what she meant. To
Okay.
Bird, this was proof of her constant vagueness. He said he never even asked her directly about being in a relationship, yet here she was acting like she had given him a clear rejection. For him,
Ooh. I mean, honestly, right? I'm gonna be honest. That's basically the not saying yes when being professed to is basically the woman equivalent of saying no, of rejecting the guy. Like, yeah, she did reject it though. Not exactly. Like that's isn't that like if if a girl doesn't acknowledge or say anything when you confess or do anything similar to that, woman's speech dictates that's a rejection. Yeah, exactly. Still, Rat VT. Yeah, exactly.
it was just another example of how she avoided direct answers while stringing him along and claiming later that she'd been upfront. By early September, Bird had booked his second trip to the UK to visit Elfin. They agreed he'd arrive just before Christmas, and he even planned out Michelin star restaurants to take her to. In his mind, this wasn't about romance or trying to sleep with her, it was about giving his friend experiences she had always wanted but felt she couldn't do alone. But during this month, her behavior shifted dramatically. After months of quiet distance following the Merrick situation, Elfin started sending him photos of herself again, selfies, cute pictures, and when he didn't respond fast enough, she reacted with visible disappointment, as if craving his.
Oh God, she truly is a woman. There's way too much effort for her to do this unemployed shit. God. She's pulling a woman on him. Okay.
Validation. To Bird, it felt like all of her old patterns had returned. The blurred lines, the need for attention, the subtle flirtation, just as he was about to fly across the world to see her. But among all the blurred boundaries and emotional manipulation, some of the darkest messages between Elfin and Bird revealed an even more unsettling side.
Insecure woman, that's just basically what happens to a woman if she is in the predicament that Alfin claims that she is. Right? No, I'm employed, but this shit is unemployed. True. Yeah. Hi, Tutsi Lucan.
Their conversation sometimes turned deeply uncomfortable. Screenshots in the.
If you think that IRL, just rape me. What the fuck did you mean by this? If you have a rape fetish, just say so. Well, duh. That is not something that can be assumed. Don't duh me. Huh? Why? I always mention it. Girl knows what she wants.
Document show Elfin talking openly about.
She's not actually. She doesn't actually like. Oh, when in situations like this, chat. Okay, so I'm fluent in women's speech. In situations like this, she doesn't actually want to be raped. She just likes the idea of the loss of control, right? Like, in general, when a person doesn't have their life together, this goes back into like psychology. When a girl doesn't have their life together, they crave control. They crave like direction. They crave somebody to, let's say, handle the reins for them, right? And that bleeds to everything, including their sexual preferences. That's why people like these often develop like rape or like all sorts of like very weird fetishes. Are you fluent in women? Yes. CNC is like CNC is not really this. CNC is only liking the idea of rape. Like you see, you liking CNC doesn't actually mean that you quote crave the loss of control. It just means that you saw a lot of rape fiction, found that attractive, but don't really want to be raped, and you want to roleplay as if you are being raped, right? Like that's just how it is.
Rape fantasies and non-consensual degradation. She described these
gotta go out, get drunk, and get
as
raped.
if they were just another part of her day-to-day thoughts. For Bird, these conversations were disturbing. He saw them as further signs of her chaotic mental state, her tendency towards extreme sexual degradation.
I was trapped on the falling stairs and you caught me like a bodyguard or something. It's funny, and then you fingered me, bruh. Crazy. What the fuck is wrong with you?
What
What do you want? What do you want? What's wrong with me?
Disregard for
Yeah, okay.
normal boundaries in relationships. And it didn't stop here. In another screenshot, Elfin casually used the hard N-word in conversation.
Oh, I saw this! Legit, you motherfucker cuts me in the daily and thinks I'm gonna be normal. Kill yourself. What do you mean, daily? You legit said you fap to other girls. Like, okay, and we're... Let's fucking go. Yeah, this is what's a problem? This is... Bro is having psychedelic dreams and is projecting all that negativity on the guy that never did anything. Okay, so...
Bird included this in the document to show how she spoke privately, unfiltered,
okay,
offensive, and with no awareness of the consequences. These messages painted a picture of someone whose entire online persona blurred into her private life. Someone who said shocking things without hesitation and lived perpetually at the edge of self-destruction. At the same time...
See, that's attractive. Chat. Psychologically, the reason why that's attractive, it's not just me, okay? I swear. It's not just me. The reason why that's attractive is because of the hot and cold back and forth between, like, people. Right? Like, intermittent, I think the term there is intermittent affirmation or something like that. It's where you take some, you demean them, then you praise them. You demean them, and then you praise them. That way, it's like, the person eventually starts craving your approval and will absolutely loathe themselves when they don't have it, because it means that if they have your approval, it means that it's genuine, or it's like something that's not fake or something like that. Yeah.
Two other figures entered the narrative, Captcha and a fan named Shovel Breath. Shovel was someone Bird never trusted. He saw him as a sleazy liar, and I'm not making this up, by the way, he literally says those words, who openly joked about wanting to watch Elfin's community burn. As a moderator, Bird had to take comments like that seriously. He repeatedly warned Elfin that Shovel was a red flag, but she always dismissed his concerns.
Okay.
Then,
I wonder
in
why.
September, something else changed. Shovel began making pointed cuck jokes towards Bird, implying that Bird only disliked him because he saw Shovel as competition, saying,
"Oh my god! Wait, chat, is Shovel gonna be the fucking, like, the cock that didn't know he was being cucked? Oh no, bro! Oh no! Yeah, like, Elf probably fucking, like, well, she got like it got revealed to her in a dream in her, like, schizophrenic episode where fucking, you know, like, apparently average Bird masturbates to other people, so she takes revenge by talking to other men and gooning to them, and to her that satisfies it.
Things like, oh, you just don't like me because you view me as a threat. It was subtle at first, but increasingly direct, and this made Bird realize that it was blatantly obvious Elfin and Shovel were talking privately in DMs, intimately. On September 25th, Bird noticed Elfin and Shovel in a voice call together. She mentioned casually that Shovel was going to stream some Russian cartoons for her to watch. There was no mention of this in any public channel, meaning it was coordinated in private DMs. To Bird, the optics were dangerous. Elfin was a public figure, and after what happened with Merrick, he feared Shovel was another person taking advantage of her vulnerability behind the scenes. Concerned, he pulled her aside into a call, explaining how suspicious it looked. Shovel, who rarely spoke truthfully, just so happened to be taking a college course featuring Russian cartoons, and just so happened to DM her about it privately. Bird worried it was manipulative. It's difficult to know whether this was motivated by lingering feelings toward her, or because of genuine concern for her well-being. Elfin seemed to understand, and after their talk, she finally unfriended Shovel. For Bird, it felt like the issue was resolved, at least for now.
Did she talk to him behind the scenes?
All the complicated relationships Elfin maintained, none were quite as chaotic and destructive as her interactions with Captcha. Captcha was another fan in her community who, like Bird, became deeply attached to her. Bird first notices that she seemed to be posting an earnest in his containment thread, incel maxing about woman-related issues. Woman-related issues he believed were Elfin. There was one...
He's pulling a sad boy. This is typical.
One day where Captcha said something along the lines of, "Oh, it's so frustrating when women are given the answer to all of their problems, but they don't want to take it." And Elfin got exceptionally mad at this comment.
Oh. So I'm gonna guess. Okay. Captcha is like Captcha saw Elfin's like Menhera tendencies and like his femcel behavior and offered himself as like the thing that can fix her. That kind of like that is the answer to her problems. But then Elfin obviously said no, fuck that, and then now she's like mad. Okay.
Bird stepped in to mediate. He calmed Elfin down and messaged Captcha privately, explaining that his vague posts were making her feel targeted and attacked. He told Captcha to apologize sincerely, even if it wasn't long or detailed, just enough to show her he didn't mean harm. But Captcha's response showed his mindset. He said that he was glad she explained things to Bird because she never told him anything directly. He questioned whether she even cared enough to deserve an apology, asking Bird if she only mentioned it because he brought it up. For Bird, this was another red flag, proof that Captcha's attachment to Elfin was less about friendship and more about validation, obsession, and resentment. He would eventually get banned at Elfin's request a few months later, but that wouldn't be the end of him.
Okay.
As the year was winding down, Bird didn't notice anything too alarming in Elfin's behavior.
True, Angel B. The femcel chooses you.
But Captcha's presence in the community was never straightforward. Around December 4th, when everyone's account were getting strangely suspended, a theory emerged. Sako, another Discord admin, messaging from his alt account named Kazu, told Bird that he suspected Captcha was behind it all, mass reporting accounts under an alt. And Bird found this believable, considering Captcha's history of erratic behavior and bitterness towards Elfin. They start discussing it further. Sako, aka Kazu, explains that on the day both his and Elfin's account were hit, Captcha had been messaging her on Twitter, and given his reputation and past incidents, it all lined up. Bird and Sako's conversation painted a grim picture. Captcha had been deeply parasocial, confessing feelings, becoming obsessive, and eventually threatening Elfin. According to Sako, Elfin told him Captcha even threatened to dox her if she didn't unban him. Apparently,
that's fucking, well, I mean, fucking, bro must have love bombed Elfin, and Elfin maybe at first have taken the bait.
He was banned and unbanned repeatedly because he would whine about it hard enough and say he went to therapy. Bird wondered aloud if Elfin was intimidated by these threats. Sako didn't think so, but the whole ordeal reeked of desperation. They also theorized whether Captcha's threat held any weight. Had she already trusted him with personal information, or was he just bluffing? They weren't sure, but one thing was clear. Captcha's involvement added another layer of instability to Elfin's already volatile inner circle. Every day, new secrets and betrayals seemed to bubble to the surface, and Bird was left trying to piece it all together before everything came crashing down. So Bird takes this seriously. He reaches out to Elfin and messaged her on her own alt since her main had also been suspended. Concerned, Bird pulled her into a private call to talk about the situation. During that call, he took notes, trying to piece together exactly what had happened. But as she spoke...
This gives me like a massive savior complex. But if Guy did actually do all of this, it's like, okay,
he just couldn't shake the feeling that she was
free
only
service,
telling him half the truth. Her story felt incomplete. She admitted parts of it, like Captcha had sent Elfin memes, they talked, he confessed his feelings, and when she gently
she soft lands on him and eventually hard rejects because he was being annoying. He starts incel maxing, posting about her server and threatening to dox her because he had...
rejected him, he didn't take...
Did this story only take in the span of 1 month? Chat, this is just 1 month in it, right?
Take it well. He began incel maxing publicly, posting about her in the server, and even threatening to dox her because he had her Instagram, which contained at least one face picture. He said something twisted along the lines of, "I didn't want to miss out because she was cute." And
no, chat, look, I don't know if you can see it, but it's 12/4/24. I'm gonna sincerely hope that 12 is that's the month, and this is December 4,
been
2024.
easier if
Let's
she was
hope.
ugly. After that, Elfin blocked and banned him, but Captcha kept coming back on multiple alts, sending vague threats and having people in the server relay information back to him. But
Okay.
when Bird asked her why she didn't want him to know, she reluctantly replied that she just didn't like telling everything. Bird found it odd. This was serious. A man was threatening to dox her, yet she seemed evasive and strangely casual about it. Still,
Okay.
with his flight to the UK only 3 weeks away, he didn't want to start a fight so close to meeting her in person, and finally, December came. Bird flew out on the 22nd.
Oh yeah,
landing
okay, I was right. It was December. Good.
the UK the next day, and during this second visit, they spent time together every other day. Elfin, being agoraphobic to a degree, needed breaks between outings, but their days were filled with quiet moments. Michelin star restaurants in London, anime figure shopping, wandering Chinatown.
Okay, actually, you know what? I feel sorry for him now. I feel sorry for him now.
Trying and failing to build a bear at Build-A-Bear due to the holiday crowds, and even building her new PC. But it was during that trip, after months of emotional entanglement, that
She gave me a straightforward rejection. Bro farmed the fuck out of him, squeezed out every single thing he could get from him, then said no. Holy fucking shit. Can we get an F for bro? Holy shit, they knew they were getting... Oh my god. Oh my god. The lengths dudes will go out, will go for pussies, dude. That's all I'm saying. He got baited.
she gave him what he describes
Manuel loser. I don't want to completely tell him that he's the sucker in the situation, but I feel like even if Elf wasn't like this Menhera, it was obvious that it was a no. It's true. It's a no. It's obviously a no.
as her first straightforward rejection, which he didn't even get rejected face to face, mind you. He got it via a mediator. She like told the mediator.
Okay, that makes it worse. Elfin had to pull a third party to tell him no. Oh my god, dude. I literally made this in my video. When you date a Menhera, or when you try to like help or fix a Menhera, right? Sometimes you are the one that end up broken, right? A Menhera will swim past his fellows so she doesn't drown. Buddy, you get drowned. You got drowned.
that she doesn't want a relationship with Bird, and the mediator told him. Awkward. After Bird's visit to the UK,
Very awkward, Rima. It's fucking hilarious.
seem to
I'm
quiet
so sorry. I know these are real people. I know these are real people with real feelings, with real struggles, but at the same time, you can't make this shit up, man.
down for a moment, but it didn't last long. One day, not too long after his return, Bird received a drunken call from Sako. At first it was casual. Sako was rambling about someone in the server who was apparently digging up Elfin's old information, suggesting that this person might become a problem later on. But then the conversation shifted. Sako sent Bird a screenshot from VT, one of those typical gossip posts claiming Elfin does XYZ, and Bird didn't care to remember the exact words. But what struck him was Sako's reaction. Despite being drunk, he started saying things like, man,
Bro, why is dating a Menhera ever an option? Because Menheras are sometimes the only person that, the only types of people that you have a chance with. Some guys break themselves chasing that kind of thing.
These things kind of line up. Curious, Bird pressed him. He asked what exactly Sako meant. Did he have proof? Was there anything behind these rumors?
Okay.
As they talked deeper into the night, Bird realized something unsettling. Both he and Sako had been through eerily similar experiences with Elfin. They both knew intimate details about her personal life. They had both received her nudes at some points, and she had acted flirtatious and sexual with both of them. The realization was like a cold slap of water. Their entire conversation boiled down to two major takeaways. One, they needed answers. Bird gave Sako a list of people he suspected she was juggling. Himself, Merrick, Shovel, Captcha, and Sako. And he wanted Sako to bring it up to her to see if she'd admit the truth. More than anything, he wanted to know what she really thought of him. Was he just a source of money? Did she even care about him as a person?
What do you mean? Are you stupid? what you still wanted to find out what you meant to her? What? What? Why? Are you my fucking god? No. Okay. See, how can you not be on Elf's side? My girl fucking farmed the fuck out of these people. Like how?
Person, he decided if her response showed that she only kept him around out of convenience or greed, he would leave her life immediately. But
Okay.
2, they recognized the pattern. Both men saw it clearly now. The cycle, the way she would pull someone in and become their world, and when their usefulness was over, just quietly discard them.
Yes.
They knew it was only a matter of time before Sako's time ran out too. And when that happened, Bird planned to confront her in private, end it all, and finally be done with this exhausting web of manipulation. Soon
Okay.
after, Sako would go back to Elfin and confirms Bird's list of people, the quiet players in her behind-the-scenes reality. By mid-March, everything reached a boiling point. On March 17th, Sako was finally banned. For Bird, this was the catalyst, the final push she needed to begin unraveling the truth, no matter how ugly it would be. He decided to start reaching out to people, to connect the dots once and for all. One of the first people he messaged was Lil Bean. Bird knew Lil Bean was close with Captcha. They had played VR chat together before, and he assumed this would be a chance to get just Captcha's side of the story, to fill in minor
So they're
gaps.
playing detective now. Okay,
But
gotcha.
what he found was something far beyond what he expected. Lil Bean wasn't just another server member with half-remembered anecdotes. No, he turned out to hold nearly all the missing pieces. Screenshots, context, dates, conversations Bird had never seen.
Give it to me.
Lil Bean's insight, everything finally fell into place.
Yes.
For the first time, Bird could see the entire twisted mosaic of Elfin's private life.
Okay.
Her lies, her games, her careful manipulation of each person. It was all laid out in front of him with devastating clarity. And from that moment forward, there was no going back.
Okay.
As Bird kept digging, Lil Bean became this unexpected informant. Bean told him
Unexpected
about a call
informant,
that took place on
okay.
November 8th. It was a small private call with Shovel, Elfin, and Launchland. They pulled Bean in for one reason, to help them deal with Captcha. According to Elfin, Captcha had been harassing her for months, relentlessly trying to get unbanned from the server. She painted him as an obsessed outcast, desperate for any form of contact, even if it was just an argument. But as Bird listened to Bean recount the details of that call, something felt off. Why were these people gathering together, strategizing, sharing private screenshots, and building coordinated narratives behind closed doors?
God damn.
Was this really about protecting Elfin from harassment, or was it about controlling the story?
Exactly, covering it up. Yeah.
This was only the beginning of what Bean would reveal. Bird would come to learn that the story Elfin told about Captcha wasn't just incomplete, it was almost entirely a lie. When he finally spoke directly to Captcha, the truth unraveled like a rotten thread pulled from an old sweater.
Oh shit, sorry.
Captcha described how around August and September, he and Elfin were incredibly close. They spent countless nights in calls together, gaming, watching movies.
I guess I literally have no reason to hide it anymore. Smoke cigar. Maybe I am just a nice guy.
Sharing vulnerable moments. He says it felt like they were dating. She even sent him explicit
So Elf in Psyop did a Psyop. Oh my fucking god.
photos and lewd messages. Captcha genuinely thought there was love there. And then suddenly, everything flipped. In the span of just a few weeks, Elfin's entire demeanor changed. She went cold, distant, brushing off his attempts to understand what was wrong. Every time he asked, she acted like nothing had happened. Leaving him desperately confused, clinging to any scraps of affection she offered. Eventually, when Captcha finally confronted her...
Bro, this is some fucking anime shit right there. The abuser turns out to be the abused and not the other way around. It's literally that...
broken and angry, her reaction was explosive. She accused him of manipulating her, called him a predator, and tried to spin the narrative that she was the victim all along. What horrified Captcha most was how she tried to weaponize her trauma.
GF skill, I'm confused now. So basically, you know how Captcha was like deemed as the bad guy because like Captcha would get mad, and apparently Average Bird saw him as a liar, and that people were thinking that Captcha was the one who was blackmailing Elf and was fucking, he had her nudes and shit like that. But apparently that's not the case. She that narrative was just being spun around, so that way Captcha can take the blame for everything.
Against him. She allegedly admitted to him that she used to masturbate to her
Yeah, the man was thought to be the bad guy. It was the complete. Yeah, exactly.
dead dad. What?
What?
The fuck?
What?
Allegedly admitted to him that she used to
From where she does 100 more fucking things, like genuinely admitting she masturbated to her dead dad and fantasizes about fucking him as a little fun fact. I asked if she was lying about her dad's death because she talked about him like he was still alive, still does by the way. Which is by far the better scenario. She says I should kill myself and I should rot in hell for even believing that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? Oh my fucking god! So, bro wants to go to the fucking mortuary. See her dead dad in there. Use him as a fucking dildo. That is something. Didn't I fucking tell you, chat, that just came back? Is this about Elfin or Riri? This is about Elfin. Didn't I tell you, chat, that women are more degenerate than men?
to her dead dad. What the fuck? Then when he questioned if this was true or another manipulation tactic, she told him to kill himself, claiming he'd burn in hell for even believing that. It was mind-bending level of...
Holy shit. So every time every time that guy tries to like remind her or reference that what she said, she immediately doesn't believe it and tells him to kill himself or even thinking about it, even though she was the one that thought about it. So she legit doesn't remember what she says. Do we deserve destruction?
Gaslighting. Captcha says she'd send lewd photos to others behind
It depends on what you believe in. Do you believe that as like intentional? Because if so, that's gaslighting. But if it's like actually an accident, like she just genuinely doesn't believe, she genuinely forgets it, then that's just a different breed of mental illness, right? Like damn. Hold on, my cat is annoying the fuck out of me. Okay, back to the video.
his back while telling him how much she cared about him. When caught, she twisted everything to frame him as an obsessive freak, even though he still cared about her deeply despite everything.
Okay.
And to top it off, Captcha shared that while she presented herself
We're gonna look at like Elf's response to this.
online as a broken and self-loathing, and in private she was boastful about her own popularity and status, bragging about how powerful she felt in her community. This conversation confirmed to Bird that the tangled web Elfin spun for each of her orbiters wasn't just messy, it was deliberate.
Okay.
As Bean continued piecing together the puzzle, he realized that Captcha's claims weren't just plausible, they were disturbingly consistent with what others had reported. Captcha explained how in September he, Shovel Breath, and Launchland all discovered a horrifying truth. Elfin had been sexting and sending nudes to all three of them simultaneously.
We got that.
She played the same game, subtly implying that he was special, different, the only one who truly understood her brokenness. She never explicitly called them boyfriends, but her messages left little doubt that she was implying exclusivity. Feeling betrayed and disgusted, Captcha, Shovel, and Launchland formed a group chat to...
like you said, I mean, it's kind of obvious, man. I mean, that being said, I told you, right? Like, the reason why I can sniff this out is because I'm around other women. And a lot of women, rather. And a lot of other women tell me these strats, or like, I sense a pattern, and that's how it's easy. But like, to a lot of men who don't have the same experience, I can understand why it comes across like that.
Compare their experiences. The betrayal was undeniable. In a moment of confrontation, Captcha messaged Elfin while in a call with the others to cross-reference her responses live. This was the point where Elfin's manipulation became crystal clear to them. She confessed how Launchland, who already had a...
Jesus, what the fuck is this? Can I have more pixels?
...asked her for sexual interactions while she was drunk and vulnerable. She told Captcha, "I said I can't do this, man. I never wanted to. I was stupid and drunk, dude." She claimed she never wanted any of it, swearing that she wasn't into poly shit. Captcha, bitter and resentful, accused her of simply moving on to the next toy whenever she got bored of the last.
I'm taking... You use and discard people and fucking throw them away to go to the next guy. I'm taking precautions, bro. Bro, fuck yourself. I legit never told them anything about me. You're the only one who knew. Actually, fuck off, dude. Like, oh my god. Okay. Okay. So it's actually manipulation. Okay.
Elfen defensively lashed back, insisting she was never truly into any of them. They didn't even know her real name, and when she drank now, she did it offline to avoid exactly these kind of situations. But
Meanwhile, average bird gets farmed the fuck out of him.
I wasn't convinced. He called her out directly. You use and discard people and fucking throw them away to go to the next guy.
Yeah.
Elfen coldly simply confirmed she never told them anything real about herself. To Bird, it felt like, for her, all of this was just transactional. As Captcha pressed her harder, her narrative crumbled. She lashed out, screaming lines like, 27-year-old man talking to a...
I mean... Yes and no. Because at the same time, right? At the same time... Why? Is she Aizen from Bleach? Legit, she is Aizen from Bleach, dude. Holy crap.
Drunk girl and dared the victims?
Lamau!
Throughout the exchange, Captcha called out her contradictions, accusing her of using and discarding people like trash. She insisted she knew what she did was wrong, but continued to pivot blame back onto others, especially Shovel and Launchlin, whom she accused of grooming her, while simultaneously claiming she was aware and regretful. Her response shifted rapidly between defensive, apologetic, manipulative, and outright rage-filled as Captcha broke through her excuses. He called her a manipulator to her face. She tried to guilt-trip him, saying he knew her real name and she was trying to be better. But Captcha ended with brutal finality. It's too late, man. What done is done. And keep in mind that throughout this conversation,
she had a fallout.
Everything was being relayed by Captcha to the other two guys.
Yes.
So as they learned all of these additional stuff she was saying about them, calling them a groomer, for example, their anger only grew and grew.
Yeah.
After the revelations about her interactions with Shovel Breath, Launchlin, and Captcha, Elfen finds herself backed into a corner as she is added to a group message with all three men.
You don't do that, okay? You don't do that. Oh, okay, hold on. That is such... Look, okay, you don't do that. Not because when you want to confront a woman in that way, you don't do that. That's not how you do it. Okay, I'm gonna go through later, maybe someone remind me. I'm going to do a play-by-play on how you can get a woman to confess this. To confess all of it, rather. Just not, but it's not this. It's not this.
Trying to explain herself. Whatever happened with Shovel was my fault. I engaged it. I shouldn't have talked to him about philosophy or my life or anything. Wherever it went was bad, and I didn't like it, and I got uncomfy, but it was my own fault for engaging with anyone like that in the first place. She then continues, shifting to Launchland. With Lodge, I was really fucking wasted, but it was again my fault for keeping up in DMs when I shouldn't have as a content creator. I should have kept my distance, but you kind of just went with it despite having a girlfriend. I felt so fucking awful when I sobered up.
What? So this launch guy got an IRL girlfriend and she's... What is wrong? Wow, okay, well, I don't feel bad for you.
I just wanted to be nice. Finally, on Captcha. With Captcha, I genuinely liked him, and I know we went far, but I realize how fucked it is. The distance, the way I can't handle this since I'm emotionally immature. I felt fucky to get attached to someone I can't even meet, so I stopped. But the men weren't buying it. At one point, as she tried to minimize her responsibility, she even admits, I made the mistake of reaching out when I shouldn't have. Captcha immediately replied, mocking her phrasing.
Reaching out,
reaching
XD.
out.
XD.
And Shovel Breath cut in with precision. No, it's not reaching out that's the problem. Elfen tried to defend herself. You can ask both of them how I started talking. It wasn't flirtatious. Captcha snapped back with brutal clarity. Does all of your reaching out lead to you whoring yourself out after a span of a few hours? Ouch. Then Shovel Breath dropped.
That's okay, good. Directness is good. But not... Okay, so... How you want to do it when you want to deal with like these kinds of women, right, is you want to play their mental gymnastics and be direct when it matters, right? Women, okay, well, I say this in the most sexist way possible, but like at least in my experience, right, a lot of women that I deal with, or like I talk to, or I'm friends with, do not like directness. They want to use allegories, they want to use references, they want to use X, Y, and Z to refer to a certain situation. They never like being direct. So when you are being direct, they start panicking or breaking down because, oh my god, like I thought we were I thought we were trying to be shrewd here, like shit like that, right? So it has to be like, it has to be, you have to play with that, and then strike when the time is right. So what he said.
Hours? Ouch.
Okay, so what he said, what he did here, right? Does all of your quote reaching out lead to you whoring yourself out after a span of a few hours, right? So this does not necessarily count, but it's close. It's close. Avoiding confrontations. Well, I mean, I saw I don't know where I saw this. I saw an article saying that like most women are like conflict avoidant, right? Or whatever the case might be, conflict avoidant or something. They don't like dealing with conflicts, or they don't want to directly engage with conflict. They like to go around it in a roundabout way, preferably somewhere where they can get away with it, right? So, her response to that, to her whoring herself out, is that it only happens when she's drunk, and then she regrets it like a day after. And you know what? To a certain extent, maybe I believe this. Maybe I believe this. Maybe. Because like, the pattern of behavior that I saw is consistent. Yes, I can also believe that it's her actual like manipulating people, and that, but at the same time there is like that small like 5% possibility that she's telling the truth. At least no, sorry. The overall situation is her manipulating, but her whoring herself out and talking to other people is genuinely like a drunk moment, right? Like she blacks out and shit like that. It's how she handled the situation that follows after she talks to the other men where the situation unravels.
Not lead to you whoring yourself out after a span of a few hours? Ouch. Then Shovel Breath dropped what might have been the most damning line in this entire conversation.
So she drunk so that she can have an excuse? No, I think she's drunk. She drinks because this is the only way she can engage with people. She gives me the impression that she's actually like a socially inept person. Like she doesn't have IRL friends. She doesn't know how to talk to people. So she needs a little bit of that liquid courage, right? I don't know if you believe that. I have some people in my life that does that, but like, you know.
The issue is that the next day we talked about it and you were sober and clarified, and we continued to do
exactly.
things.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. It's not that part that's the problem. It's what she did that followed up. That's the genuine problem.
Well, you were sober, and that was almost identical to what Bird had described earlier.
Yeah.
That Elfin would engage with him drunkenly one night and then continue everything just as intimately the next day, sober, with no memory loss to blame. This group message was a confrontation that left none of them feeling vindicated.
I think at the same time though, you don't get blacked out every single time you drink. It is impossible for you to black out every single time and not remember everything you said. There are like the 5-10% of times that does happen, but most of the time, yes, you actually do remember. Unless you're fucking wasted the fuck out, you're fucking spewing like you're spewing alcohol until your feet, like your entire ankles drenched with it. Like, yeah, sure, maybe, but most of the time, not really. That's why she's still engaged with it, because I think she genuinely enjoyed the power tripping. Or maybe not power tripping is like the word for it. Like she likes feeling powerful.
Only disgusted at the web of deception they had all willingly stepped into. But while all of this was unfolding, there was another player operating behind the scenes, Sako. It became clear that Sako's entire motivation was to cling to Elfin as tightly as possible. Allegedly, Sako had already been banned from her server at one point, but continued to stay involved privately, leaking messages from Bird to Elfin while also discussing the situation with Bird.
Oh my god! So this guy, remember, okay, so Sako was the person that Average Bird fucking like vented to and talked to his problems with Elfin about, and Sako would even like half-assedly tell him the truth, like half truth, half lies, and give him some crumbs to like lead average bird somewhere, but then Sako would fucking leak everything to Elfin. Because despite all of it, Sako really wanted Elfin. Oh my god. Dude, you guys are more of a woman than Elfin. Holy shit, why are you like this?
Himself.
Why are you like this?
According to
He's a
Sako,
double agent,
around
exactly.
mid-January. Sako wasn't just clinging to Elfin, he was playing both sides. He gave Elfin the logs of his DMs with Bird, and as a result, Elfin began scrambling to mitigate the damage, racing to talk to people before Bird could, using a partial list of names he had given to Sako as a roadmap. At the same time,
that's what I said.
Sako was deliberately muddying the waters on his way out. For example, Sako once sent Elfin's face unprompted to another server member. That person tried to be cheeky in the response, but the entire exchange read horribly. Hey, what face picture of Elfin did Bird send you? To which the other person replied, the ones you sent me, so the ones he sent you. But Sako used this to twist this into a lie, sending the exchange to Elfin to make it look like Bird was actually the one distributing her photos.
I see.
This fueled a rumor that Bird was doxing her images around the community, a rumor that still circulates even after the truth was clarified in DMs.
I
Bird
see.
showcases one example of her retelling these rumors to a third party. If I told you everything, I don't think you'd like Bird very much. I have no power though. I'm a streamer, he's got everything on me. I can't do much but either kill myself or have someone come and kill me once I'm
Jesus.
doxed. Curious though, was it Sako or Bird that sent you pics of me? The other person responds, Sako. Right, he told me Bird sent them to you, so
What is this shit, bro? What is this bullshit? Holy fuck. So Elfin, everybody sucks here. What do you mean? Everyone is playing this fucking game of charades just so they can fuck this girl. What is wrong with people?
well, everyone just loves lying, I guess.
Men are so simple. Holy shit. All you have to do is literally... I told you guys this in my last stream, right? Men are so simple. You don't even have to promise them the world. You don't even have to give them the world or like give them anything. A promise is enough, right? Jesus.
Bird explains that he only ever traded pictures with Sako himself, at Sako's request. In
It's
a message
convoluted?
phrase like, since
Yeah.
we're going down this path anyway, wanna trade pics? In doing so, Bird realized something important. Elfin was sending the exact same pictures to multiple people, a detail that would become relevant later. However,
So, okay, so Elf, you done fucked up, right? Like what you actually do is you send different pictures to different people. That way you can find out which people leaked it, right? Because that's how they, in a lot of like communities and in a lot of in like crime scenes or like identifying XYZ, that's how they do it. It like eliminates fucking people. You basically know.
Sako wiped his DMs.
Yeah, ladies, if a woman is watching this and you want to trap a guy that you think is suspicious of doing something, or you want to engage with that behavior, but you want an anchor to like pin the blame on somebody, or like, okay, I said that wrong. You want an anchor so that way you can know which one is fucking you over. Send different pictures to every single person. Right? If you want to farm simps like this, absolutely. Or put a watermark on it or something. No, you can't do that because if you put a watermark on it, it's easily croppable. And it's very easily photoshopped out. You have to give them a different picture every single time. 100%.
Without the original evidence. And while Sako was feeding Elfin selective information, she was using it to strategically shape her narrative. She would tell different stories to different people, even third parties attempting to mediate, obfuscating the truth each time.
Okay.
Then the document shifts into a conversation she is having with Lil Bean, which of course is also being reported to Bird. Originally, when Bean was brought in to help out Elfin with Captcha's harassment, Bean assumed that Shovel and Launchland were both third parties, just like him, who just happened to be helping Elfin deal with this issue. But it's not until way later in January that he would come to realize that Shovel, Launchlin, Elfin, and Captcha were all directly related in terms of their entanglement with Elfin and each other. Once he realized that and shared info with Bird, he would then confront Elfin directly. In one conversation, Elfin laments, "My biggest mistake was talking and trusting to people I talk to every day in VC. I don't see them as fans. I saw you guys as friends. I know now I never should have thought that." But Bird's ally, Lil Bean, wasn't buying it. He replied bluntly, "Elf, quit the bullshit. I read through all of 16,000 messages between you and Bird from March to December. It took me 7 hours, but I was able to prove every statement Bird has told me, and disprove all the main things you have tried to say. Your story has so many blatant contradictions."
Of course, I'm not on your side. Okay, so I think the problem here with Elf is that she sprinkled a little... She poured her heart. She poured her heart out on lies, right? Like her story is based on lies, but those stories have are sprinkled in with a little bit of truth and were given to people that she genuinely trusts, and she, like, you know, how would I want to say this? Poured a lot of feelings for, or energy for. The problem is that she got attached to the lies. The good lies always have a little bit of truth sprinkled in it. Yes, exactly. But like when you tell a lie, just so like you can protect yourself. This is a bad behavior, by the way, but just so you can protect yourself, like mentally, you never attach yourself to a lie. You don't base your entire relationship on a lie. If your entire relationship with somebody is based on a lie, don't put too much energy or stock into that relationship. You only want to pretend. That way, when eventually your lie gets fucking broken, you can easily discard them. Yes, that is a bad bitch move behavior, but it protects your mental. You don't want to have this extricate weaving of lies that you also put a lot of stock and investment in. You don't want to do that. Because you double fuck yourselves. When these people eventually figure out that you're fucking lying, for some reason, you're gonna find yourself being hurt by the fact that they didn't believe your lies. She's not smart enough to do this. No, exactly, yeah. She's not smart enough to manipulate people.
Of course I'm not on your side. Elfin, meanwhile, would argue that her age and position meant she couldn't be abusing
Oh, she's 20. She's super young.
Power,
not
stating things.
Yeah, she's not experienced. Yeah, okay.
Like, I'm not some old celebrity. I'm a 20-year-old girl who's chronically online because I talk to 0 people IRL. She also repeatedly clung to the notion that she had rejected Bird multiple times, often citing a single example from December, which Bird seems really frustrated with. But Lil Bean called out the flaw in that logic, pointing out how everything she had done to Bird had occurred before that supposed rejection. And Elfin's response? How does it matter what happened if there's a straight rejection? Are you stupid? Bird goes on to write that it's clear this entire rejection defense from Elfin hinges on a single conversation they had in December where she clearly rejected him. But for Bird, that didn't excuse any of her behavior leading up to that point.
Yeah, no, exactly, because fucking Elfin farmed the fuck out of him.
He writes that Elfin refused to acknowledge any responsibility for how her actions impacted others. At one point, Bean calls her out directly, saying, "Again, I know what you guys talked about in September. I know you're lying." But she doubles down, insisting, "I have a literal blatant rejection in December." Then, almost as if to pivot away from the topic entirely, she throws this out. Yes, it was a conversation about rape. It was a convo about rape and how it would be funny if you raped me or some shit. I saw the logs, dude. There's a rejection in December. After that, he should have realized I don't like him that way. Bean, clearly frustrated, points out the contradiction. And also you saying that he was cucking you because he faps to other women. If you find all this stuff so uncomfortable, how on earth are you okay with all of this? She continues arguing. Do you sincerely think all those months of me not even trying to flirt with him is remotely leading him on? I'll be honest, I've had lapses of judgment when I would send pictures of my face, like in September, where I need validation.
Okay, so I think this is a big shot of retardation from both sides. So here's the problem with both men and women, right? Like, Okay, this is not necessarily a defense of Elfin, but it's like a general thing you guys wanna like remember. She could be lying here, she could be not. It seems like the narrative is that she is lying, but in general, a woman's way of showing affection towards other women are very like, let's say, touchy, very aggressive, very like it's like somewhat intimate, not necessarily intimate, but you know, like women hug each other, kiss each other, grope their own boobs, fucking like half, like not necessarily flirt, but like talk in this almost cutesy way towards each other. But then when that happens to a guy, like when a girl gives that exact kind of communication to a guy, the guy's gonna perceive it as actual flirtation and that the guy was into him. Yeah, touchy-feely. Yeah, exactly. Like, people need to know that. People need to learn to remember that. Because you might get into weird situations where you get fucking accused of as a weirdo or a groomer or whatever the case might be, just because you didn't know how to read a woman's behavior. Right? Like, obviously, this is only loosely related to what's happening here, because to a certain extent, yeah, it does seem like Elfin is lying.
And I'll be honest, I like self-esteem and constantly crave validation from others, but generally speaking, how is the December rejection not enough eventually? Bean presses her again. Yes, but when was the rejection obvious? Tell me. But instead of answering, she deflects. I've already explained so many times. Let me explain one last time. And if you don't open your mind outside of this fucking bias, I'm gonna stop.
I don't have his bias, Elfin. You can lay it on me.
Trying. Bird writes that she then posted a long summarization filled with half-truths and blatant lies that, as he puts it, anyone reading the full context would be able to point out. To her, that December rejection was her golden ticket out of accountability for everything before it. But to Bird, it simply showed how desperate she was to rewrite the timeline in her favor.
Where is it?
Described how her relationship with Bird began to shift back in April. In
April, him and I got close.
Didn't
he got... Okay, no, never mind.
I will say, looking back, calling me while drunk and asking me extremely personal questions is extremely weird. I hope you...
Dude, you're the one that started, "Ooh, I think I love you." What do you mean?
Realize how fucked that is. Moving on, I started trusting him a lot. He was helping me with money, my mental health, everything. I generally thought he cared with no ulterior motives. It was like a dad, generally. After April, the realization...
But what do you mean it was like a dad? But you love him, you can't love him.
How fucked the situation was. I felt like I kind of fell into the trap of getting money from someone. Pretty much becoming their slave or something.
Okay.
To her, it felt like she was becoming trapped, supported financially, emotionally, and practically, but with an unspoken sense of obligation tying her down. Later, Bean would relay these messages to Bird. In them, Elfin talked about Merrick dismissively, saying, "I'm pretty sure I had a thing with Merrick, but that's a different issue." She described their cancelled meetup by saying, "I didn't want to at all," despite months of planning and excitement leading up to his visit.
Wow.
And she added, "He's now depressed that I didn't meet," framing Bird as simply upset about the cancelled trip, omitting the context that he had also discovered her other relationships at the time. She claimed he was the only person I could send my selfies to, despite having sent the same picture to multiple people, and kept repeating the phrase, "Oh my god, someone thinks I'm not..."
Like a dad, oh no, yeah, exactly. You probably don't want to be seen as his dad, considering what Elfin wants to do with her dead dad, apparently.
A line she had used before with others like Shovel Breath, Launchland, and Captcha. She also justified deleting her account by saying, "I completely deleted my account because I was in a sketchy server," though in other conversations she had stated it was to start fresh with a clean state. Finally, she wrote, "I don't like Bird being my manager," despite previously being comfortable with it. Later, she would claim Otaku forced her into it, despite his threat of quitting clearly being a joke at the time. Bird goes on to write that, in the aftermath of everything, Elfin's pattern became painfully clear to him, deflecting blame, playing the victim, and trying to regain control. Bean offered to go through the logs of their group chat with her, but she kept pivoting, asking repeatedly for the logs herself instead. Bird noted how she manipulated the situation, first agreeing to go through them.
Yes, Unread. Please ask him, why did they remove me from the GC?
live on stream, and then shifting to demand them in private, insinuating that Bird was deleting messages. She also brought up doxing concerns, which are valid concerns, and she claimed that Bird had shared her address with others. However, Bird insists this was untrue, clarifying that the only personal information he ever saw or shared was her first name, never her address as she claimed. What disturbed Bird further was how, when confronted about never shutting down sexual conversations, she deflected again, saying that over 50 people have told her they climaxed to her, and she never—
Bro, I've had like 50 people say they come to me, bro. I didn't cut any of them off. Bro, you cannot argue for me. I'm a literal VTuber. You are not a VTuber. Let's go! Okay, and you don't see a problem? Like, clearly it is sexual and him being into you. Okay, I mean, in this certain context, I don't really mind.
Cut any of them
It's
off.
actually a
I don't
flex.
think that's a good look. And to Bird, this painted a clear picture of someone maintaining parasocial sexual bonds while refusing responsibility for the emotional fallout. She even argued that Bean couldn't criticize her because he wasn't a VTuber, or that sexual advances were different from romantic ones, diving into semantics to avoid the core issue.
Okay, so hold on, let me see this. I've shut every romantic effort completely. Sexual shit literally does not. Okay, so she thinks that she shut down every romantic effort, but any sexual effort is different. Is not shut off because it's different. I see. Okay. So that's the distinction. She sees the romantic and the sexual in two different contexts. She wants to goon, but she doesn't want to feel. Okay. Excellent.
Were different from romantic ones, diving into semantics to avoid the core issue. In the final part of his document, Bird summarized the entire timeline, from the Merrick saga in May and June to the Shovel, Launchland, and Captcha revelations in September, to her lesson learned statements in January that were immediately contradicted by her continued sexting with Sako shortly after. As his closing thoughts, Bird says that once he learned the full truth, he realized keeping it private would only let the cycle continue, and someone would eventually get hurt. He felt the only option was to make it public so people could decide for themselves. In his words, Elfin Sayop wasn't dating any of us. She can do what she wants privately, but lying, slandering, and accusing people of grooming just to protect herself is unacceptable. He ends by saying he hopes people at least understand why he felt this had to be done. Following the release of this explosive document, Elfin felt like she had to make a statement and goes live on stream to explain her side of the story. She opens her now deleted stream with her signature ironic demeanor, shifting abruptly to the serious topic at hand. She explained to viewers that her Discord moderator, Bird, had released a 51-page document exposing private interactions she'd had with multiple men in her community. She framed it almost mockingly, saying, "My Discord moderator wrote a 51-page document about yours truly, an expose about the things I've done over the past year." From the outset, she maintained a dismissive yet anxious tone, telling viewers, "Most of the TLDRs I've seen on Twitter are so disgustingly wrong, it's so easy to disprove all of this." She said she felt forced to respond publicly because people were spreading what she describes as blatant misinterpretations. Elfin openly admitted that she did talk to multiple men, describing them as close friends she spoke to daily in Discord voice chats. "I'm not denying that I talked to people," she says. "I literally did talk to people. They were really close friends." However, she vehemently denied the document's central implication, that these relationships overlapped romantically or sexually. She insisted, "None of the guys I talked to were overlapping. Literally none of them. All these guys I talked to were spread over a whole year. Most of them were months apart." She argued that Bird provided no proof, no evidence, nothing to support his claims that she was engaging with multiple people at the same time, characterizing the entire narrative as ridiculous. She emphasized, "I need to hammer this point down. None of them overlap. There's proof of one of the guys literally admitting, Elfin told me she doesn't want anything more. She told me she's not taking this anywhere further and I just went with it. I have screenshots," she adds. She also addressed people comparing her situation to that of Gunpei, who I've made another video on, who is another VTuber exposed for overlapping parasocial relationships. Pushing back firmly, she says, "It really isn't the same. I was never a GFE YouTuber. I never dated anyone. I'm still not dating anyone. I don't even have a fansly." She criticized the wording in the document women as cherry-picked, explaining that she kept calling these people her viewers, but she considered them friends, and she spoke to them every day. I was always online in my Discord voice call because I can't be alone in my room. I get hallucinations and paranoia if I'm alone. So
Oh,
I was
Jesus
there all
Christ,
the time.
dude.
These people were
Jesus.
my friends. Calling them my viewers I targeted is insane. All of them were older than me. She then
Okay.
described her life circumstances at the time.
Yeah, you're fucking 19 and 20 and everyone is 25 above. Yeah, okay.
She was working 2 jobs, isolated, and completely new to the VTubing culture. When the Idol Bros and Boo Bros community members joined her stream, they taught her everything about how VTubing worked. She admitted, "Literally, I had no idea they shaped my entire perspective on how VTubing works, and Bird was pretty much the closest one." She
Okay.
recounted how Bird told her about Yuko and idol streaming controversies. Yuko Urei was an
Are we really gonna get into that? Are we really gonna get into that? Okay.
other VTuber who had a very strong parasocial fan base, but who ended up getting burned by it. But
Yes.
Elfin adds that she didn't even know what GFE content meant. She said, "If you're in my shoes getting showered with money when you can't afford anything, and this guy is there for emotional support, saying, I will support you with whatever you need, whatever you want,
tend to stick
you're
to
just
it.
kind of inclined to be like,
Yeah.
holy shit, thank you." She described feeling overwhelmed and isolated with no friends or family to rely on in real life.
Okay.
I was working 2 jobs. I was exhausted. When I got told, "It's okay, we'll help you, we'll support you no matter what," it was kind of crazy for me. I was losing my marbles. At
Okay.
this point, it's hard not to see the parasocial nightmare forming. A lonely girl oversharing with equally lonely men, each feeding into each other's worst instincts. She craved validation and intimacy.
Okay.
And they craved her attention and vulnerability. And when everything collapsed, everyone felt betrayed. And for Elfin, this was the reality behind the DMs and support Bird offered her. She framed herself not as a manipulator, but as a lonely, vulnerable streamer grateful for help, blindsided when private moments were turned against her in a public expose. She tried to dismantle the framing of her as a predator or manipulator,
I don't think she... At the same time, though...
insisting that none of the men involved were victims, and emphasized that they were all consenting adults.
No one was a victim, in a sense, where, like, somebody somebody was in the receiving end of a crime. But, you know... It's just emotional.
Older than her. Half of these people were 25 plus, including Bird himself. Calling me a predator is insane when you're much older than me and much more experienced.
Yeah, I don't think this
added
is a
that
grooming
Bird
story.
Also went around telling people he didn't see her
I think, like... Okay, hold on.
self-harm scars, so she must be lying about them.
I think people showered her with love and support. Elfin, in like, you know, knee-jerk reaction to like love and support, she immediately takes them in and feeds them with even more reasons to keep loving and supporting her. But because she doesn't want to like, she doesn't want the love and the support and the attention to go away, but at the same time, she doesn't want a lot of her private stuff to get like revealed. She mixed in a lot of truths and a lot of lies and fed other people different stories and different stories and different scenarios to get them to hear what they want to hear. And then, you know, when the cracks started to form in those stories, those guys collaborated with each other and then tried to confront that with Elfin. Elfin, knowing that like a lot of these things were lies, but they were lies that she was genuinely emotionally invested in, didn't know how to defend themselves aside from cherry picking some of the things that she said. I think that's what happened. I don't think Elfin is a bad guy here, and I don't think the other people that like the men around her were bad guys or groomers either. I think these people were just these people were just as mentally ill as each other and just as emotionally, let's say emotionally like immature as each other. And the ultimate winner was Elfin because she was the one actually doing the farming. And to a certain extent, I think I respect that. What you're saying is that they were all tripping over each other. Yeah, exactly.
She said that was insane and cruel to say about someone. She stated bluntly that Bird's intention were for her career to be over.
Negative
she said
feedback
he himself
loop.
admitted she wouldn't feel secure or recover, and that he wanted her to lose everything she built up. She further clarified, there were 2 blatant rejections, maybe more. He kept saying I led him on, but I rejected him clearly multiple times. She goes on to explain that Bird kept trying to meet her in real life, buying plane tickets and offering...
Oh, I agree, Zero Exceed. I think she is still the most guilty. I'm not saying that, like, I don't... I told you, I did say, like, she was the one that, quote, won, because she was the one that did the most things. Like, she was the one who actually, like, farmed this shit behind the scenes, yeah.
To be her caretaker, but she kept saying no. She questioned why. If she manipulated these guys so badly, people like Sako still helped her and most of her Discord friends didn't hate her. She admitted to sending selfies and nudes to some of them while drunk, but said, you're not being manipulated if you choose to keep talking to someone drunk who's being a gooner. You can't call...
See, you can't say that if, like, literally the next day, you keep doing it. Like, maybe a one-time, two-time thing, that defense is valid, but, like, there's a point where it's not, you know? Like, you can't say that every time. Especially after, like, going on a date with fucking... What's his name? With Bird? Fucking going on London, treating her out, and then fucking rejecting him and the day was over. It's like, holy shit, bro got farmed. Holy crap.
A victim when you're older than me and fully aware. She also denied having financial motives in these interactions, clarifying that Bird was the only person who donated money to her. She said his friend told her Bird donated with no romantic or sexual motives, just to help her as a friend. But in the end, she felt this document proved that was a lie. She described Bird as someone who acted normal to her face while scheming behind her back, going around to her friends and poisoning her community. She also adds that he never confronted her directly about any of this, framing it as a moral obligation instead. She accused him of wanting to destroy her. His intentions were for my career to be over. He wanted me to lose everything I built up over this past year. At several points, she addresses the explicit pictures she sent while drunk, claiming that she asked him to delete them the next morning, but found out from the document that he had saved
them. Yeah, definitely for proof reasons.
And for future evidence, which disgusted her. She concluded by reiterating that none of the men overlapped, none were manipulated, and none gave her money except Bird. She took responsibility for trusting people she shouldn't have, but refused to accept the label of manipulator. I do not take responsibility for you saying you got manipulated by me, because you didn't. Throughout the stream, she alternated between mocking Bird's perceived self-righteousness.
Do I believe that? Do I believe that? Let's finish the video.
And lamenting how isolated and betrayed she felt, framing the ordeal as a harsh lesson about parasocial relationships and trusting online communities. She closed by apologizing to her viewers for dragging them into this drama, reiterating that she hoped to continue streaming despite losing many friends. Her final tone was a mix of exhausted, apologetic, and defiant. I'm sorry for bringing this drama into your lives. None of it will happen again. I'll never stop being a fucking idiot, but I will stop trusting people. And then she ended her stream with her final advice, which became sort of iconic in its own way.
Biggest statement though, never goon. Never fucking goon.
No. Fuck you.
When this scandal erupted, even more damaging rumors started to swirl. Specifically, that Elfen might actually be a rebrand of Mel Nekomara, a previous VTuber accused of scamming her audience before disappearing. In fact, it went so far that Elfen and Mel were supposedly planning to do a collab stream together just to kill those rumors once and for all. But there hasn't been any substantial evidence to prove this claim, and many people have noted their voices are noticeably different. Still, that's a rabbit hole for another time, because honestly this video is already way too long. But reflecting on this entire situation, it really makes you wonder about the degree of responsibility here. On one hand, you have a girl who is clearly unwell, deeply lonely, mentally unstable, and thrown into a position of influence and attention she wasn't prepared for. I think many people online can relate to that feeling of being starved for validation. But at the same
but I never beg for it because I'm not a woman.
Time, Is that really an excuse? Should she have been sending explicit pictures while drunk to viewers, making sexual jokes with them, and then later framing them as predators or spreading damaging claims about them? It's a complicated situation where both parties carry fault. She was irresponsible and reckless with people's feelings, but some of these men were also fully aware adults willingly engaging in sexual conversations with someone younger and clearly unstable. Not to mention, they shared some of her most sensitive
your
information
complex.
and photos together. While I understand them wanting to clear their names, I still don't see why sharing those images would
This
be
felt like a nothing burger to me. I mean, it is generally a nothing burger. The only reason why we're watching this video is because we earlier we looked at the fucking Elfin Psyop drama with Riri. So now I didn't know the extent of the situation, but now I do. Let's see. After speaking with Elfin directly, she chose to unprivate her full defense stream. Okay. For those who didn't make it to the end of the video, I also want to highlight a few claims that Elfin specifically asked me to clarify, as they may have been missed. Elfin says she never claimed to be a victim. She never accused anyone of being predators. She states she never claimed to be entirely in the right. She mentions she doesn't identify as a femcel. Really? I mean, I don't know about that, but okay. But acknowledges that some people may associate her with that archetype. Keep in mind that the 51 document page Google Doc was created by someone who had personal reasons to paint Elf in the worst light possible, and that might have been obvious. I believe it should have been clearer. My personal opinion, while I believe there may be valid criticism to be made on both sides, I also don't think anyone involved in this is entirely innocent. Okay. Yeah, that's what I think too.
necessary to accomplish that. In the end, this entire scandal highlights the danger
She does regularly say that femcells don't exist. If we're operating under the narrative that femcells don't exist because men will want to fuck anything and everything, and that includes like a dead fucking sheep, then I don't think that's the only thing that constitutes as a femcell. Like, obviously there are actual femcells, but like there are quote femcells, if that makes sense.
of parasocial relationships go in both ways. When streamers rely on their fans for emotional support and fans become emotionally invested far beyond normal boundaries, it creates the perfect storm for manipulation, betrayal, and irreversible damage. But what do you think? Was Elfin simply
Okay. I think she just subs the word girl failure for femcell. Well, femcell is like a certain archetype of girl failure. Quick TLDR. Oh, okay. Basically, quick TLDR is whatchamacallit? Riri makes a post about how she doesn't want to be seen as a Nazi femcell VTuber girl failure type person anymore. But then somebody retweeted it saying that they know her crimes, and then Elfin retweeted that, responded to that saying, yeah, no, I think Riri is weird. She legit copies me 1-to-1. I don't know what her deal is. She fucking hates me. She fucking spreads lies about me and shit like that. I don't like her. But then Riri responds saying, yeah, no, the reason why I was LARPing as a Nazi was because I thought like that was funny. I like edgy humor like that, especially in France where that kind of humor is not allowed. But as time went on, I realized that I'm not actually that kind of person. I'm actually getting better, so I'm no longer a Nazi LARPer something. So I'm gonna stop being it, right? And then fucking she apologized to Elfin saying, I did copy you, but not really. I think you're still weird, so I'm still gonna block you, but I'm sorry I copied you and said all these things. And then Elfin responded to that saying, what a weird fucking apology. You copying me isn't really a big deal to me. It's more so you copying me and then you have and calling me your inspiration, but then you have the audacity to call me problematic and call me Gunpei 2.0 or something. Yeah. So, yeah. The difference is that she fakes it. Yeah. The difference is, Riri is not actually a femcel girl failure Nazi, but Elfin is, I guess, is the difference. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.